you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, September 15. Earlier today was the Montreal Canadiens golf tournament at Club de Golf Laval-sur-le-Lac. And even though the puck wasn't dropped when it's the golf tournament, it feels like it's the start of the hockey season. And of course, Pro Camp starts in a couple of days. Shouldn't that be fun? It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun today because the Montreal Canadiens rolled out Geoff Molson, Jeff Gorton, Kent Hughes, Marty St. Louis, Nick Suzuki, Mike Matheson, Zachary Bolduc, Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, Lane Hudson. The list goes on and on. I'm probably missing out a few. Eric Engels can probably help me out with it because he was there, of course, and Eric is going to join me in about a minute. So once again, we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens golf tournament because so many subjects came up earlier today. And without further ado, we're going to do it with Eric Engels, Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca. Eric, how are you?
I'm good, man. I still got to find that webcam because honestly, this isn't going to do moving forward, but I seem to have misplaced it, and it can only be in one of a couple of different places. So I'm going to find this thing. So for now, you're going to have to deal with me in the high definition camera of my regular laptop.
Okay.
We'll get back to the good quality next week.
Okay. All right. Okay. Don't worry about it. I think it's a pass for tonight. You don't have to worry about it. All right.
I care about the product, Tony. I care.
Thank you very much. If you cared more, you would have bought a webcam last week. But anyway, okay. If I cared more, I would have bought you. would have got you the webcam.
You did, and Yellow bought me one. I've just misplaced it. I don't know where I put it.
Don't tell me you sold it on Facebook Marketplace.
No.
Oh, you didn't do that, did you?
I don't use Facebook for anything, so I definitely don't use.
Is that right? Eh? Yeah. Hey, listen. What did you make of the golf tournament today? Did you learn anything? Because listen, you're plugged in. There's probably not much you know, but did you learn anything?
I think we'll get to the news item pretty quickly, I'm sure, but. You were talking about all the people that spoke. I was more interested in what they had to say and the unified message that came across. Because a year ago, there was a slogan going around about being in the mix, and there was no slogans this year. What this was, I thought, was an opportunity for Jeff Gorton, Kent Hughes, Geoff Molson, Martin St. Louis, maybe even some of the players to acknowledge how difficult the task will be to maintain what they did last year and, live up to the expectation of making the playoffs. I thought there was a chance to tone things down and say, a lot had to go right for us to make it last year, and we know that it'll have to go even more right this year. There's going to be teams chasing us. It's going to be extremely hard. A lot of teams in our position in the past have thought they were emerging from a rebuild only to take a step sideways or backwards. We have to be wary of that. We have to be careful about that. There was none of that. This team from the outside looking in is expected to make the playoffs. They've set that bar for themselves and making them unexpectedly last year. This team internally expects of itself to make the playoffs. And you know what? It brought me back to the interview that I did with Kent Hughes a couple of weeks ago when we were in Chicago for the Detroit, for the GM coaches meeting.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook and the opportunities they have. And he came out with a quote. I'm not going to give it to you verbatim, but it was something to the effect of embrace opportunity without fearing failure. Knowing that failure is still a possibility, you shouldn't fear it. You should be excited for the opportunity that's in front of you and seize it. That's how winners behave. The attitude, we'll find out if the Canadiens are winners by April. Okay. We'll find out if they follow through on their goal and what they've set for themselves as an expectation, what everybody else should expect from them based on where they're at in their build. But day one started with a winning attitude. That's what it meant to be.
I don't know if it was the last podcast that we did or the one before that, but you spent a lot of time talking about their first 17 games of the season last season, where I think they won 4 of them or whatever it was. And you said, if the Canadiens get off to that kind of start, chances are they're not going to make the playoffs. And a lot of people took issue with it. They didn't watch the rest of the podcast and they watched the clip and whatever and stuff like that. I totally understood what you were saying.
Yeah, because in the rest of the podcast, I said they're going to make the playoffs.
Yes, but I totally understood what you were saying. But you know, what you were talking about was something that they talked about a lot today. Okay. They all talked about urgency and consistency. I asked Marty St. Louis a question about, and it was something to the effect of, you know, in the learning moments of that first round defeat versus the Washington Capitals, what did you learn that you will bring with you and be aware of the second the puck drops to start the season? Or is it whatever you learned can only be applied to the playoffs? Let's listen to Marty St. Louis' answer to that question.
I mean, I feel the eye opener for me is you know, I know it was a 5-game series, but you know, sorry, we weren't that far off. You know, it's just like every little play matters. There's not one action on the ice that can't affect the outcome of the game. Sometimes it's a bad bounce, but you know, the urgency that we showed, you know, second half of the season and even in the playoff, even if it didn't go our way, you know, you kind of have to have that like right now. Start with that.
All right, and there you have it. Marty St. Louis talked about the urgency. So he said, we lost in 5. It was closer than that. A bounce here, a couple of details there. But we realized in the playoffs that we had to play with urgency. We have to take that urgency, and we have to start the regular season with that urgency. What is he doing? He's trying to make everyone aware and trying to get, you know, everyone's attention right away by saying, we got to get off to a great start. We can't get off to a start where we're going to win 4 of our first 17 games. And by the way, you know, like the season, like you take a look at the calendar, you take a look at the schedule, and you say, it's not going to be easy. And he knows that. And teams are going to be taking the Canadiens a lot more seriously. He wants to get off to a great start, because if they get off to a great start, where instead of winning 4 out of 17, it's winning 13 out of 17, I have a feeling that St. Louis and everyone in the organization thinks that if they do the opposite of what they did a year ago in the first 17, they're going to make the playoffs.
Listen, I've said it before. You don't make the playoffs in the first month of the season, but you sure can miss them. And the odds of the Canadiens doing what they did last year, it required a lot of help. It required an incredible run post-Four Nations, no doubt. And they deserve full credit for their part in making the playoffs. But some other teams down the line shit the bed. Like, they did not do what you needed to do. What did the Canadiens finish with in the standings? What were the points?
91?
91. In most years, 91 is not a playoff team. There was one year where the Canadiens had 96 and missed them.
Correct.
I mean,
Columbus got in.
Look, I don't think it's some hot take to say that, you know, in an Olympic year where there's a 3.5 break and the schedule has been compressed to have 16, 17 games a month and tons of back-to-backs and tons in 3 and 4s and tons in 5 and 8s, you get off to that type of start where you're chasing it. By the time you catch up, say you have a great run to erase that bad start, you're exhausted. Like, the brakes got to hit at the right time. Like they did last year. For whatever reason, Christmas break came around right at the time where the gas was running out. And then they came out of that break and had a great run. The Four Nations break came when the gas had completely run out for the Canadiens, and they came out of it and had an unbelievable run. You can't put yourself that far behind. It's just the way this league works, and it doesn't matter if you're Montreal or Toronto or any other team. Like it's death by 1,000 cuts. Like
yeah.
I'm not inventing this narrative here. Like, this is historically proven. Elliot Friedman, my colleague at Sportsnet, has always habitually kept the stat of teams that make the playoffs from 4 points out post-American Thanksgiving. And the percentages since the first lockout are like 8-10%. Last year was an anomaly.
Wow, that's cool.
What did happen last year is a lot of character building and a lot of inward looking for the Canadiens, right? They realized they were playing in a certain way that was not going to lead to them winning.
Mm-hmm.
They learned some really hard lessons. It took getting embarrassed, and it took looking in the mirror and saying, we either commit to playing a style of game that's going to enable us to not beat ourselves, let alone give our opposition the opportunity to walk all over us, or we're going to lose and get embarrassed and take a real step back when we're supposed to be moving forward. And credit to them. They did the right things. Now it's about continuing that and bringing another level of consistency that wasn't quite there for the entire season last year.
Speaking of consistency, we'll get to Kent Hughes in a minute. Now, before I talk to you about Playground, you haven't really played poker until you've played at Playground. Voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker Circuit. Don't miss your shot at the world record Bad Beat Jackpot, now closing in at $1 million, just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge. It's Playground. Also brought to you in part by La Bittt at Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. I would actually go in my fridge, my La Bittt TB fridge right behind me right now, and grab one, but I'm not going to do that because I took off my shorts and all I have are my boxers right now. So I'm not going to do that. Maybe another time. All right. Okay. Eric thought that was funny. Eric's not laughing. Okay. You spoke about consistency. It's something that Kent Hughes brought up. Last year, they talked about being in the mix. This year, Hughes, Molson, St. Louis, and Gorton all talked about consistency. Let's hear Kent Hughes.
Comme j'ai dit tantôt, je pense que la constance, c'est une des choses très importantes individuellement autant que collectivement. On a eu 2 séquences très bonnes après Noël, mais entre ces 2 séquences, je pense qu'on a gagné un des 9 matchs. On l'a vu dans l'histoire des jeunes équipes, c'est une des dernières choses qui arrivent. On a parlé de ça avec les joueurs, mais là, on parle de ça avec notre équipe. Alors pour moi, de voir une équipe capable de gérer les up and downs d'une saison d'une meilleure façon, ça sera certainement un des objectifs.
I was hearing a really bad buzz, so if you heard it too, I apologize for that technical inconvenience. But Eric, Kent Hughes talked about consistency and saying, you know what, we need to get to playing consistent hockey. And basically, they want to avoid the ups and downs that happened a year ago because that's what it was, right? It's almost like the season was in like 4 or 5 different stages, right? Get off to a really bad start in the first 17, and then all of a sudden, boom, stabilize, and then all of a sudden get a lot better from just before Christmas till a couple of weeks into January, and then actually hit a little bit of a wall going into the 4 Nations, and then after the 4 Nations taking off and I think winning your next 5 games and then getting better, and then a little bit of a lull, and then back a push up, and they were able to make it down the stretch once again by a couple of points. Is it safe to say that that's the thing that stood out to you today, that 1 year ago we were all talking about, they're all saying they want to be in the mix. 1 year later, they're all talking about consistency because they know that if the team is consistent, they're going to be more than in the mix. They're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they know that you can't be as up and down. They also know, you limit the space between losing spells. You're not going to play your best all the time. There's going to be mitigating factors to you finding your best performance, whether it's the schedule beating you down or injuries or whatever it is. The reason why they will be more consistent this year, in addition to it being all about the individuals themselves and finding that level of consistency, is they have an established brand of, when you heard Marty say 1 million times, stop taking the actions that help the other team. There is that's very much the foundation of the style of play they have. Yes, they play an exciting brand of hockey. They push things offensively. They push from the back end. They will be better able to push from the back end with Noah Dobson in the picture, and three guys like Matheson, Dobson, and Hudson, potentially spread to three different pairings at a given moment in the season. But it's more the fact that like all these players are so familiar with the way the team wants to play and know how to apply that I think consistency will naturally come just from that. Are they consistently going to win 8 of 10 games? There's no team in the league that does that. There's maybe one that gets that accomplished every year. And even still, like if you could sustain a 700 winning percentage, you're one of the top 5 teams in the league. So look, it's more about knowing what to expect game to game. Marty was asked how he is supposed to coax consistency out of the team. And it's like, Marty's in control of a lot of things. That's probably not one of them. He can obviously reinforce the message that he needs to reinforce on a daily basis. He can motivate the guys as much as possible. Ultimately, he likes to talk about group decisions. That's the number one thing. Are you taking, as Marty would say, the actions that take care of the team? Are you doing the things that fall within the brand of hockey you're expected to play as a team? Because if you do that, every individual benefits. And I think the reason to believe that they'll have that, Tony, is A, the brand is established, and B, the players have matured and they've grown together. They've gone through these processes together. They have failed together and picked themselves back up off the floor together, and they have found moderate success together, and they have a hunger that's collective. And I think that's a lot of fuel going into the season. Like there's you asked what the main takeaway is, and it's not so much the wording, it's the level of excitement that the team has for where it's headed. Like, did you feel that today?
Yeah. I actually, some people actually didn't feel that. They felt that there wasn't a level of excitement and they wanted to temper the expectations. I actually left there saying to myself, there's this quiet confidence among everyone.
Name one thing that was said, Tony, today.
That they're going to take care of business.
What was one thing that was said today that was tempering expectations? There wasn't one thing.
Well, the only thing I could think of was when Jeff Gorton was asked if missing the playoffs would be a failure, and he said, "No, I don't think so."
And he called. He said he didn't like the word failure. He took exception to the word failure.
Yeah.
But he said it would be a big disappointment.
Yeah.
If you wait till the end of the answer, he said
yes.
It would be a big disappointment.
And it would be a disappointment. There's no doubt.
It was brought up that one of the youngest teams in the league got younger and then mitigated by the experience that they all gained together. Nobody shrunk from the expectations that have been set here. Nobody was like, whoa, pump the brakes. And, like anything in life, if you're going to be successful, you need to set high standards and high goals. You need to reach for the top, not for the middle. And I think the Canadiens as a whole are doing that. That's the vibe I get from them. Yeah. And I don't know how people will interpret the clips or listen to them, but that's the vibe I got being around those guys today. It's the vibe I've gotten checking in with everybody in the organization over the summer. And, the stuff we heard today is the stuff that was talked about in exit meetings, finding a level of consistency, doing the things that you need to do to take care of the team, all that stuff. Like this was talked about before the summer. So I think they're all believers there.
Renaud Lavoie of TVA Sports reporting earlier today that the Canadiens are talking to Gorton and Hughes about a contract extension. I think Geoff Molson added also that he's very happy with Marty St. Louis, and I think he'd like to get Marty done too. And I think this is amazing news for Canadiens fans, and I think it's very deserving for all three, to tell you the truth, because I think their great moves have far, 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 far exceeded moves that might not be great, and even at that could be debatable. I think they've done a really good job, all three of them, and I think they deserve to see this through. because what they've put together here has the makings and potential of being really good for about a decade, maybe more. Take a look at teams that went through a really good rebuild and won Stanley Cups, like Chicago, who won 3 of them, or Pittsburgh, who won 3 of them as well. Those teams were really competitive for over 10 years. The Canadiens have the ability here to do the same thing, to be very, very competitive, cup contenders, be very competitive for over a decade, cup contenders for probably the last 5 years of that. And I think it would only be fitting that they would see it through they're the ones who have done this. And I think it would be fitting that they can see it through as long as possible.
Yeah. So Marty signed through 2027. Correct. The other 2 guys obviously are in negotiations. Renault's just bang on with that. They're getting to the fun part now. And I don't think either of them are going to want to go anywhere. This is what they signed up for. Kent Hughes talking today about signing up to come to the rink and have the 2 points matter more than anything. It's been 3.5 years to this point.
And Eric, if I can, you mentioned Elliot Friedman before. I just wanted to add in something here. Elliot joined Max Lapierre and Pascal Leclerc earlier today on La Poche Bleue. I was part of the panel. They had a 14-hour extravaganza. It was fantastic. Congratulations to them. They did a really good job with it. And Elliot joined them today and said, listen, on 3 occasions, Geoff Molson's been asked permission by other teams to speak to Jeff Gorton. Yeah. And Geoff Molson said no every time.
I think the latest one was Columbus, if I'm not mistaken.
The Islanders.
Oh, the Islanders too.
The Islanders was the latest. Columbus before that.
Yeah. Look, why wouldn't you want that guy to work for you? And I think
I love Gordon.
I think a lot of the speculation is driven by teams wanting him. B, he was a general manager before coming to Montreal, and there was some speculation that he was missing some of the action that comes with that job and letting Kent Hughes do that part of the job, make the phone calls, work the deals. I think Jeff Gorton, and when he was asked about the speculation about the Islanders and Columbus before that, he wants to see this through. Like, he has, with Kent Hughes, put this thing together over the last 3.5 years, and they are just getting to the fun part. But I will say both guys have incredible leverage in the negotiation. Not that they're going to be, making all kinds of crazy demands of Geoff Molson. I think it's far from an acrimonious relationship between those 3 guys. I don't see it to any reason for it to be contentious in terms of the negotiation. But when you're wanted by several other teams and you're up for a deal, you go get what's best for you. And I think it's going to be money well spent by Geoff Molson. I got to say this about Geoff Molson and those 2 guys in particular, Jeff Gorton.
Geoff Molson's greatest move, by the way, to hire Jeff Gorton, who hired Kent Hughes, who hired Marty St. Louis. Geoff Molson's greatest move after buying the Montreal Canadiens, hiring Jeff Gorton and having the idea of going with the double-headed monster. Go ahead.
It is the greatest exhibit of leadership that he has had running the Canadiens. He hired Jeff Gorton and said, we're going to be bringing in a general manager also. And everybody thought that he was circumventing the whole French language thing and just putting Gorton in place, and whoever he would hire underneath him would be some puppet. And I remember the day that he made the decision, and he said, you guys think that's the reason and this and that, but you're going to see why we're doing this, because this is a job for 2 people and we need 2 different types of people running this. This is no longer a job for one. Great leadership is surrounding yourself with incredible people to help run your organization. And this was the strongest exhibit of leadership that Molson has had. And he said we were going to see, and now we see. I mean, we saw pretty quickly after Kent Hughes.
He definitely did not hire a puppet. I really believe, this is the way I see it.
No, but
I really believe, and I say this respectfully to Kent Hughes, I really believe the Canadiens have 2 general managers. I really believe that. I believe that they have one who has certain skill sets. They have another who has certain skill sets, and together they complement each other so well. And I know they have 2 different titles, but I see it as the Montreal Canadiens having 2 general managers. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. And that's the way Geoff Molson saw it when he made his decisions. And look, you know, they have slightly different responsibilities, but they are great in the debate and great in finding consensus. And the moves have both their fingerprints all over them. And Geoff Molson has found a way to put great people around himself, and also found the balance of being involved, but also being able to take his hands off the wheel and hand it to people who can drive the car, you know, maybe in a better way than he can. Like,
it was a
very
very
leadership.
It's amazing leadership. And by the way, don't discount it. Let's put the cards on the table here. It was a very courageous move by Geoff Molson, one that could seem easy for some, but we know the influence of the media in this market, and I'm talking about the Francophone media, and that bringing in an American to make him the executive vice president of hockey operations for the Montreal Canadiens, and some saw him as the man in charge, and some still do. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because in the previous years, we were hearing a lot of people in this market saying, well, Geoff Molson has to step aside. The Canadiens have to name another president, or the Canadiens have to name someone else in charge. And that person has to be like a former player. It has to be a Francophone, or it has to be somebody that's known. But it was always a Francophone name. And it took an awful lot of courage by Geoff Molson to hire Jeff Gordon. And it took a lot of courage by Jeff Gordon to hire Kent Hughes, who was not the popular choice for the most part among the Francophone media and the fan base. It wasn't. Kent Hughes was known as the English guy from the West Island, even though he speaks French.
Yeah, he does a great job in French. I gotta tip my hat to him. And Jeff Gordon opened his comments today speaking a little bit of French in his hilarious Boston accent. That was great. You could forgive the skepticism at the time, right? Like, you knew that no matter who they were hiring as a general manager, and it came down to Danny Briere and Matthew Darche and Kent Hughes. And I say that, like, the job was Kent Hughes's if he wanted it. He didn't want it originally. And then when it came time to make the decision, it was between Daniel Briere and Matthew Darche, and Jeff Gordon circled back to Kent Hughes and says, "You're still my guy if you want this job." And he took it.
He was always his guy.
He was always his guy.
Always.
But the skepticism from the outside looking in, and the idea that Gordon was running the show and Molson had circumvented the whole French issue because they were going to have a GM that speaks French, albeit it was going to be a first-time GM. So you'd think that the power dynamic would be such that Gordon's running the show and Hughes will learn. And we were wrong. Everybody was wrong. And Molson said we would understand. And now we do. And I say now we do. We understood very shortly after Kent Hughes was hired. The same way when Marty St. Louis was hired, everybody thought, well, this is a gimmick. And then
I didn't.
And then Marty came out for his first press conference, and all that talk was annihilated very quickly.
I was thrilled when Marty St. Louis got hired. Absolutely thrilled.
Listen, but at the same time, there was no way you couldn't be slightly skeptical of the decision when it was coming out of left field like that.
Listen, and I'm on record here. People can go back and watch the tape. Like, I'm not going to tell you that I never criticized Marty, because obviously I did. Like last year in the first 2 months of the season, I didn't think this team knew how to play defense, and I didn't think that he could actually. I never called for his firing, but I didn't think that he alone could turn this defense around. And I'm not saying that he did, but I absolutely thought that he needed to add a veteran to his staff, his coaching staff, to help him figure out the whole defense thing, and he didn't, and they were able to figure it out. I said that earlier tonight on Cogeco Media, and I give Marty St. Louis a lot of credit for that, but I want to go back here. I loved the Marty St. Louis hire at the time. I'm on record. People can go back. You can watch all the shows. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I love it as much today as I loved it when he got hired. Why? Let's look at the context. They had nothing to lose 3.5 years ago. They were going through a rebuild. So, you know what? No pressure to make the playoffs, no pressure to get results. All you needed to do was bring in someone who was a modern thinker, who could work with young players, who could communicate with young players, who can transmit his message to young players, who can get the most out of young players, and who could help develop young players. And with his concepts, and, when you're in a rebuild, there's a lot of fans that lose interest because you're losing most of your games. But if you're an exciting team, fans will watch even though you're going to lose your games. And I thought they were going to play an exciting brand of hockey under Marty St. Louis. That's why I love the hire, and they still do. The Canadiens don't have to be your favorite team, but there's not too many teams that I'd watch on television over the Canadiens.
Listen, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, before he got up and talked on the first day that he had the opportunity to do so as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, there was plenty of validity to the idea that there wasn't a lot of risk in hiring him and putting him in that position on an interim basis, taking over for Dominic Ducharme when the team was essentially being ripped apart and there was a few months left to go to get to the end of what was the first half season of a rebuild. But you may have been one of one if you felt like this would absolutely be a hitchless, perfect transition where this guy would be really, really good at this and be able to turn this team around a lot faster than probably anybody thought that they would get turned around. You'd be one of one. And I'm saying this as somebody who really believes in Marty St. Louis and is also on record as saying to all the people who think he was the perfect guy for the rebuild, but that when it comes time to win, he's probably not the guy. I think that is ridiculous. I think
we could forget about that now too, because he just keeps on getting better. But listen, I'll tell you a funny story.
I think this guy is already one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah.
And I think he's only getting better. He has made an entire career of getting better at things.
Yeah.
And I would not bet against him being a perfect coach for a winning hockey team. And I think we'll find out soon enough on that.
Funny story. The day they named Marty St. Louis as interim head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, I don't remember who it was, but it's somewhere in my phone. I text someone and said, if I was the Canadiens, I'd hire Marty St. Louis to run the power play. So I never said I'd hire Marty St. Louis to be the coach, because I obviously didn't think they were going to do that because of where he was coaching.
2 years ago, did you want just about anybody else to run their power play? Or
But once he was hired and he was the interim head coach, I didn't have a problem with it, because I said the timing is right. They're in a rebuild. You got nothing to lose. It works. It works. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're in a rebuild. What's the worst thing that can happen? You can lose a bunch of games. You finish last. That's what you want anyway in a rebuild. So, but I get it. A rebuild is more complex than there's stuff still that you want to accomplish, including player development. I'll say this, that I think that as key as Gordon's hiring was, and he hiring Hughes and his hiring was, and Hughes hiring St. Louis and his hiring was, I think the hiring of Adam Nicholas is just as important.
I'm 100% on board with that. I was asked, I did the Reddit for the Ask Me Anything for Habs Reddit, and was asked if you had to give credit to a couple guys, and be it in the brass, the coaching staff, whatever it is, that probably don't get enough credit around the organization. Two guys for me, Adam Nicholas and Dale LeBlanc. These two guys are fundamental to what the Canadiens have been able to do in turning this around as quickly as they have, and continuing to go in the direction they want to go in. I mean, Adam's brain works in it's incredible what this guy has been able to do with all these players. His enthusiasm just around the rink, his attitude. This guy is a key piece of this rebuild, and particularly in the one department where they were the furthest behind of any team in the National Hockey League. They were in the Stone Age when it comes to development. Now they are industry leaders. There are teams in the league that should be studying what Adam Nicholas has done over the last 3 years with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
a great hire. He's a great guy. He loves the game more than just about anybody I've ever met. I think it's a great mesh with Marty. I have to give Marty credit for empowering Adam also, the way he has incorporated him into the practices. Dale is a guy who you don't hear a lot about. He is the physical trainer of the Montreal Canadiens, but also in charge of sports science as they made certain changes within their department.
Correct. He was hired just over 4 years ago as their head strength and conditioning coach. And about 14, 15 months ago, his title was changed to head of performance.
Well,
so he oversees the entire performance department, Dale LeBlanc.
He's a really sharp guy. He's got a lot to do with optimizing practice in terms of how much output the guys need to put in on a daily basis. He's a guy that you want to work for in terms of like getting into the gym and doing the work and doing the necessary stuff to take care of your body.
He's going to be huge this year with 17 back-to-backs. 17 back-to-backs.
I mean, there's a lot of these people behind the scenes, and this is, we talk about Molson putting good people around him. Gorton and Hughes have done the same thing. Marty St. Louis is doing the same thing. This is top to bottom down how you run a successful organization. I remember, when Gorton came in, I wrote a huge story about the modernization of the Montreal Canadiens.
I remember that story. That's when you wrote about the fact that under the previous regime, at one point, the guys were doing Uber Eats and stuff like that, and they weren't eating. It was a great story. That was great story.
Some of that was the stress test of the pandemic. It's understandable.
Yeah.
But the Canadiens, when it came to certain things off their ice and the way their organization was running, not the on ice portion of it, they were coasting on their reputation a little bit versus where they wanted to go and who they should be. And when you're talked about as the quote unquote New York Yankees of hockey, you got to operate like them. And Jeff Gorton, coming from Boston and New York with wearing all the hats that he wore, he started as a PR intern, I think, with Boston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Worked his way up to general manager.
That's right, by the way, for those who didn't know that. Jeff Gorton started as part of the communications team as an intern with the Boston Bruins and worked his way up the ladder. Amazing.
Well, the thrust of that story in his first year with the Canadiens was he wasn't just brought in here to rebuild hockey operations. He was here to help rebuild the organization. And look at where they've come to. We talk about what's happening on the ice, the excitement over that. The job that Jeff Gorton has done with the help all around him, and it starts at the top with Geoff Molson. Go look at certain organizations in this league and where things go with ownership. If it's not good, the rest of it stinks, man. And this is a true story in all of sports and in most industry. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of good going on, and these guys don't rest on it. They're all, no matter how enthusiastic they are, there is a certain fear element behind it all that's like, we got to keep not maintaining this, but keep raising the bar. And that's what successful organizations do. I did that story on Jeff. We did that story a year later, looking at all that had changed in just the span of a year. A huge piece of that story was Adam Nicholas and the change in hockey development. Everybody all those years railed against scouting for the Canadiens, the amateur scouting. And to be honest with you, I never thought that was the number one problem. Did they get it all right? No. They certainly made their mistakes.
Development was a bigger problem.
The general manager interfered in some of the decisions, no matter which general manager it was, of Trevor Timmins.
The president at one point had his say on one of their picks.
But look, Rob Ramage and Frankie Bouillon been in development from predating this administration.
Yes.
Marty Lapointe was there. There were good people there. There wasn't enough. The Canadiens were nowhere near where they needed to be in terms of being industry leaders in that department. They were way behind. They were way behind in analytics. There's a bunch of things that have come into play here that have put them not just caught up with everybody, they're ahead. And that's a huge part of what's gone on. That's a huge part of why this rebuild, which everybody cautioned us that rebuilds aren't linear and there could be side steps and back steps. And
Yeah.
So far, one foot has gone in front of the other, and it's all this stuff that happens often.
I hear really good reports on Chris Boucher too, and what he's been able to bring in the analytics department. And obviously, the Canadiens had a really good feeling about Chris Boucher because Kent Hughes made him his guy to run the Canadiens analytics department. So, look, all in all, it's easy for us, especially when you're a guy like me who's very opinionated. It's always easy to say this guy's not that good, this guy's not that good, this guy's not that good, this guy's not that good. Not a very easy thing to do right now, because I'm going to tell you, really honestly, I think the Canadiens have a lot of very, very competent people in a lot of key positions. So I think Chris Boucher, based on what I'm hearing, has done a really good job. I think Adam Nicholas is absolutely fantastic at what he does. Fantastic. That guy's got so much passion for what he does. It's just, that's the reason why he's fantastic. You don't have to look very long or hard. I think Kent Hughes' experience as a general manager, his communication skills has really served them well. I think Jeff Gordon's overall experience has really served them well. I think the fact that they help each other, Bobrov and Marty Lapointe probably occupy the two hardest jobs in the entire organization, and that is being able to project what a young player will be when you're actually looking at that young player at 16 and 17 years of age. There's no harder job in hockey.
You know what the common thread, Tony, between
Yeah.
all these people you're mentioning, they're obsessed with what they do. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even, if I got you a book list of what
Yeah.
Adam Nicholas is reading, just to be able to apply certain things to his situations and how he works with his players.
Well, he's a student of
you'd
the
be
game.
blown away.
And if you have the privilege of following his Instagram account, you'll see just like he's talking about, and basically not talking, but he puts out stuff out there. It's always about what he does. It's always about his job. And it's you get the feeling that this guy's always trying to get better, always trying to get better. That obsession that you talked about, nobody probably has it more than Marty St. Louis. Marty St. Louis he's had an obsession ever since he started playing. Yeah.
It's all these guys. Like Kent Hughes talking today about being on the golf course this summer and placing his phone calls just to make sure he's not missing out on the action, because is the quietest summer he's seen as a GM in the league. Kent is never far removed. He's never even removed from what's going on. He's so obsessed with, they had that clip, I think it was in the first season of the rebuild, where he talks about his nickname being the Squirrel. Something like that.
Yeah.
Right? His mind is always going. He's always up to something. There's a very healthy / unhealthy obsession that these guys have with what they do. And that's what you need if you're going to be a championship team one day, or if you're going to at least put yourself in a position where you have the chance to win.
Speaking of this team, we're going to get to them in just a second. Not before I talk to you about Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Sean Girard, Mike Cinquino, David Grassi at the helm. And you know what? They're a great place to work. Check out their career section at shipenergy.com. They're a top fleet employer in Canada, just as Forbes magazine. I also want to give a shout out, of course, to Accent Insurance Solutions. All insurance is not created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. It's at Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop it for you to find the right product, right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. And jot down this number, 514-363-3636, or visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Are the Montreal Canadiens going to make the playoffs? And if so, how many points? Who's not going to make the playoffs? I mean, these are things that you can get in on the action on if you want to talk hockey, or you want to get in on the action on hockey. If we're talking football, of course, you can get in and name your winners every weekend, and prop bets and players go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. First bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Geoff Molson talked about this being a special team. I asked him about it because obviously he's known a lot of players. He's known a lot of teams on and off the ice. He's known a lot of locker rooms, and I wanted to get his thoughts on this one. This is what Geoff Molson had to say. Listen carefully.
This team is special. They're a very tight group. They all get along really well. They do things together. Their wives and girlfriends are part of the family as well. And you can tell they want to build this and they want to win. And it's really great to see. I mean, I think Jeff Gorton was telling me one of the practices we had in August, there were 42 players on the ice. I've never seen that. In 17 years that I've been doing this, you see a spatter of players that stick around, but these guys stick around not only because they want to see the great city of Montreal and everything that it has to offer, but because they want to be together and they want to win together.
They want to be together, and Eric, they're together all the time. I'll tell you something. My son called me on. No, actually, he texted me. So Friday night, my son goes out for a bite to eat, a well-known restaurant in Montreal, and it's got an inside and it's got a terrace outside. It's a beautiful spot, and he texts me and he says, "Dad, these Montreal Canadiens are here. They're sitting next to me right now. They're having a bite to eat." And he texts me and it's like 6 players, right? 6 very important players in the Canadiens. And I said to him, I said, okay, stop texting me. You're not a reporter there. Like they can go out to eat like everyone else. But I actually said to my son, I said, Anthony, what's cool is that these guys spend a lot of time together, not only together tonight having a bite to eat. And, you listen to stories about those great Montreal Canadiens teams. By the way, I went out for a bite to eat last night. And at the table next to me, there were 3 members of the Laval Rocket that were next to me as well. And as I was going out, I actually saw them. One of them called me over, and I went over and said hello. And so they're together all the time, Eric. Those great teams of the Canadiens of the 70s, they'll tell you that they used to have lunch together all the time. Like after practice, they used to eat together all the time. Some of them would have supper together. They would be together after the games. And that's another reason why you win. And right now, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but jealousy has never hit this room ever since Gorton and Hughes have taken over. And in previous years, Eric, we've seen, call it jealousy, call it whatever you want, call it players just not liking other players, call it whatever. We've seen players try to tell us that the locker room was great and it was healthy when we knew it was not. And you know what? Jealousy is a bad thing. And not everyone's happy for your success. And fans may see it and say, you know what? It's amazing. Look how popular he is, or look how popular he is. Look how popular he is. But sometimes with your colleagues, your popularity bothers them. This has never happened to the Canadiens since Gorton and Hughes have taken over. At least not that I know of, Eric. You correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. But it made me think about something else. You often hear the seeds of a championship team are sown through the draft. And I think most people interpret that as you need to draft high-end talent in order to win. But I think what we often overlook is when you are thrust into a position where you are drafting so many players within a 3-4 year period, and all these players are coming into your organization at the same time. Of course, you have to do a good job drafting the right players, right? We hear about good people. We hear about Geoff Molson, Marty St. Louis today. When I asked him, what makes you believe? And he said, well, first and foremost, they're good people. We have good people. They've placed such an emphasis on character within the draft. But when you throw so many darts at the board, and all these kids are coming in at the same time, and all of a sudden they are growing together. They are going through the failures of the early years of the rebuild together. They are learning how to problem solve together.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to play together. They are learning how to win together. They are enjoying moderate success together, and then real success together. And that hunger is growing together. All that amounts to that closeness that you're talking about, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
Zachary Bolduc is 22 years old and talked about how he was one of the youngest players. I was reading this in Arpin's column actually today. Him talking about how he's one of the youngest players in St. Louis, if not the youngest player there. And now all of a sudden he's here and he's like the average age of all the guys that are here.
Yeah.
He's, leading the pack at just turned 26 years old. Dobson's 25. A bunch of guys at 24, a bunch of guys at 23, a bunch of guys at 22, a bunch of guys at 21. Of course they're going to be close, right? Like they're building something together. So when we talk about building through the draft, I think we overlook that element, and we're so focused on the high-end talent portion. But you think about the great teams that have won, teams that turned into, I think, a Tampa and the success that they enjoyed in Syracuse before Tampa. Like what happened in Laval last year and some of the guys coming up. Like, this is how you win. This is how you get to a place where you contend. And I think it's very easy to overlook these things.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I was on record for saying that if I would have been the Canadiens, for what it's worth, based on the information I had on his talent, I would have drafted Michkov at 5 the year that they didn't. All right. But today I can tell you that, seeing as what's materialized here, I'm not so sure that he would mesh well with all the other players on this team over the long term. No, I don't know that. Like what do I know? Like, I don't know if he would be the greatest influence on Demidov. I don't know if he would fit into this family environment and this team, like this strong team on and off.
Like they've raved about it in Philadelphia off the ice. And
yeah, I know.
Character and all that stuff. So
yeah, I know, but they're not going to say otherwise. But it could very well be, right? But I'm just saying this. What I do know is that all the guys that they have, they've meshed. I don't know if he would have meshed. I'm saying that I don't know, maybe not. But I know that all the guys that they have meshed and have gelled together really well. It's really, really nice to see.
It's not all going to be a utopia, like there will be a point where maybe there is some jealousy between one guy or another. And like there's competition for ice time now, and there's different depth elements to the team that make it a much stiffer competition. And at times, some guy's going to be playing better than another guy, and some guy's going to feel or the guy who's not playing as well is going to feel as though the opportunity he needs to play better than that other guy who's taking his spot is being given to that guy. So that stuff happens. Like
I don't think anyone's envious though of others players' talents and popularity within like I don't think anyone on the team doesn't like the fact that Lane Hudson's become so popular, or Demidov's become so popular, or that Caulfield's become so popular, or that Suzuki's, become so popular.
I think that's where Marty has done like a really great job. He's got them focused on their own stuff instead of everything that's happening around them.
Yeah. So we have so much
influence, he said.
We have so much material that I could use over the next couple of days, and so I'm going to save it. But there's other things that Jeff Gordon today talked about. Kirby Dach, who, by the way, said that there's a plan in place for him, and if all goes well according to the plan, that Kirby Dach should be available for the Canadiens on opening night.
I just want to say that when Gordon's scrum wrapped up, I just stopped him and said, "Hey, can you just clarify? Because JF Shomo asked you, will he be ready to start camp? You started your answer with yes." He said, yes, he's going to be a participant in camp. We're going to bring him along slowly so that we're guaranteeing ourselves he'll be ready for the first game of the season. But he will be a participant in camp. And I got to tell you something, Tony. And I know everybody's thinking about Kirby Dach right now. The 2 days of rookie camp, I watched a bit of the rookies before I knew the games were coming this weekend. I wanted to watch the main guys practice, and I watched them very closely over 2 days. Like I told you, I would not judge Kirby Dach based on some videos I'm seeing coming out, or any other player for that matter. I want to go see for myself. I watched him super closely for 2 days straight. He was not holding back even a little bit. Like there is no hesitance. I saw pictures of him in the golf tournament without a knee brace on today. Like playing golf, you're twisting your leg. Like I'm just telling you, he was going all out in those 2 practices. He has ramped his way up to, I think they're going to be cautious with him because they have to. It's 2 years in a row with major knee injury. But I have zero doubt in my mind, not even 0.1% doubt that he'll be ready to start the season. And I think
good news.
His participation in camp will be held back only by the Canadiens, not by himself.
once again, we're not going to touch on them right now, but these are topics that we'll have for the rest of the week. Mike Matheson, who's going into the final year of his contract, says that he'd love to be with the Montreal Canadiens long term, but obviously it's up to his agent. And by the way, players like Kirby Dach, Patrick Laine, they're also going into the final year of their contract. I asked Lane Hudson about the sophomore jinx. He talked to me about that. I asked Noah Dobson about, this criticism of him by some who say, you know what, he's 6'4", but he's soft, he's not physical, doesn't hit anybody. And so there's just so much material that came out of today's Montreal Canadiens golf tournament that we'll be able to have fun for the rest of the week. And in ending, for those of you who asked me once again what I was doing with Ivan Demidov, we appeared in a couple of pictures together over a month ago. I let you know that we were filming a commercial, and today the commercial came out. So it's all over social media, but for those who missed it, it looks something like this.
New team, new season. I need to find something that helps me recover. I don't care for you.
Hey, Ivan, you need elite recovery because Montreal needs you to be elite. I bring you the 5 best options, but there's only one winner. The Space Mattress. They say it's like living in space. Why don't you go try it out to see if it's as good as advertised?
Слишком жесткий.
They said it's supposed to be NASA foam. Yeah. This is the influencer mattress. Everyone's talking about it on TikTok. In my opinion.
This has a filter. It's a catfish.
Catfish? With the 5th pick in the mattress draft, I present to you Essentia. No ads, no sponsorship, no nonsense. But the real pros, they all sleep on it.
Where is it from?
Montréal. C'est un matelas de chez nous. Approved by those who sleep best to be the best.
C'est chez nous.
And there you have it, the mattress draft, mattress pick number 5, the real number 1. And of course, for those who can recall, Ivan Demidov went number 5 in his draft. And for those who caught it, maybe some didn't, but next to the mattress on the little table, there was a picture of Celine Dion and Celine, his pet. So pretty cute, I think. And I'm not going to be doing more commercials, I don't think, going forward. And I don't think I'm going to be doing any acting. But it was a lot of fun. So Eric, he's a likable guy on and off the ice. We all saw his talent in that rookie game on Saturday night versus the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, he was a human highlight reel during that game. He did exactly what the entire Canadiens brass who chose to put him in that game wanted him to do. They wanted him to dominate, and he dominated.
I was there, and thanks to Ivan, by the way, because he was going to be my story no matter what on Saturday, but he made it really easy to write. My honest impression of watching him in that game on Saturday, the first 2 periods, I don't want to say he was on cruise control because he was trying. But when he decided in the 3rd period that he was going to take over the game, he raised his level like 5 notches. The first 2 periods, it was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out. I'm going to play my shifts. The 3rd period, it was like, I'm going to go dominate this game now. I've had enough of just watching it. I'm going to go do some stuff. It was ridiculous the way he took it over. It certainly lent credence to the idea that he shouldn't have been playing in it in the first place. But I'll tell you, thank God he was. And those people who paid to be in the building, the atmosphere that they brought to it, I promise you, there's no way it would have been the same if he wasn't dressed for that game. So good for the Canadiens for putting him into it.
Yeah, and good for the Canadiens for not putting him into Sunday's game, saying, you know what, a short turnaround after the camp.
There's just no reason. You watch that first game, you're like, we don't need to keep doing this. The risk is not worth. This guy's too important to the team this year to put him in this right now. And we've seen what's happened in some of these games. Like, I go back to, I remember Jake Evans at the rookie tournament. That was awful. Maybe people don't remember what I'm talking about, but he got knocked out with a hit. That was
I remember. Yeah.
that hit. Like,
Yeah.
No one needs to see something like that happen to Ivan Demidov, by the way, just so people know. Ivan Demidov is how he says his name.
Yeah.
Kenzie Lalonde asked him for a clarification on the pronunciation. I told her his name is pronounced Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago and Rocky Balboa. Rocky 4 is still my favorite Rocky, by the way, and I know that it's for the most part, I think a lot of people consider Rocky 2 the best Rocky.
It was my favorites also, but we can't go back down that road because I screwed up the last year when we
but
I'm never gonna live that down.
I really like the whole training montage, in Russia for both of them, which by the way was not really Russia. But anyway, I thought it was.
Columbia, no?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was my favorite Rocky, I think. And Eric, you're one of my favorite collaborators, especially on Mondays when you're a regular collaborator. Thank you for doing this, Eric. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
Thanks, Tony. Take care.
All right, there you have it. Eric Engels of Sportsnet, sportsnet.ca. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Betway is one. Accent Insurance Solutions is the other. Bittt Tibi is one. Playground is another. And so is Energy Transportation Group. Special thanks to Shane Gaumont and Master Control. If you like our podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. And once again, and by the way, for those who have asked, the French show that we're going to be starting. Once again, this show does not change whatsoever, okay? Does not change whatsoever. It will stick Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. And from my podcast studio here at home. The French show will be Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. So I'm going to tell you something. And we'll talk about this on another occasion, but 10 a.m. is the hardest time slot. It's the hardest. And it's going to be especially hard for a video podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, because most people that go into work in the morning at 10 o'clock, they really have to work and they can't be watching. And the only people that can really usually listen are people that are driving at around that time. And some of them will have a hard time with the whole podcast option, especially if they have a car that is several years old. But we don't really care. I'm not going to tell you I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to tell you we don't really care how many people will be watching. We don't expect a ton of people to be watching live at 10 o'clock in the morning. But if the show is really good, which is obviously not only my goal, but my intention, and I know it will be. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be good. It's going to be great. Okay? I'm going to change the game, the way podcasts are being run in Montreal and in Quebec, and maybe even in Canada. I'm going to take it to another level. Believe me when I tell you that. I know I will. We rented a studio. We're renovating it. It's going to have the look of a TV studio. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. And we're going to do something really good with it. And so, people will be watching. And, they don't have to all watch live, although the more the merrier and the better the numbers, the bigger the numbers, the better. But I know over 24 hours that we're going to have our share of views. It's the hardest slot, but I've been working at 10 o'clock in the morning for like the last, 15 of the last 17 years or something like that. All right. Or 16 of the last 18 years, something like that. So it's a spot that I'm accustomed to, because when I started with that slot in radio, Wayne Buse, my then general manager, said, I'm going to ask you to do the 10 o'clock slot. And I want you to look at this as a promotion, because this is such a difficult slot that if there's anyone who can make something out of nothing, it's going to be you. And so he gave me that that responsibility and that opportunity, which was amazing. It was amazing for me to be able to start at 10 o'clock in the morning and have that show for like almost 15 years in that slot. And I did it last year on French radio. and I'm going to do it again. So because I've done it once again, 15 of the last 17 or 16 of the last 18 years or whatever it is, that's one reason I'm doing 10 o'clock in the morning. Another reason why I'm doing 10 o'clock in the morning, because marketing, 10 a.m. in French, 10 heures le matin en français, 10 heures le soir, 10 p.m. at night in English. From marketing perspective, it works really well. It also works really well from a rest and recovery perspective, because I get to have a breather in between the two, and I get to go to sleep at night, wake up fresh the next morning, and do it all over again. And you know what? Number 10 has always been my favorite number, because the guy who made me fall in love with hockey was number 10, le numéro 10, le démon blond, Guy Lafleur. And so, inspired by my childhood idol, Tony Marinaro in English at 10 p.m., et Tony Marinaro en français at 10 heures le matin. The show, for all of you who are wondering, once again, will be it'll be a sports show. There will be an emphasis, obviously a bigger emphasis on hockey than any other sport, but we're going to give you content. We're not going to be just a hockey station. We're going to give you content. So if there's something big going on locally with the soccer team, you're going to hear from it. Locally with the football team, you're going to hear from it. Locally in our city, you're going to hear from it. Locally in our province, you're going to hear from it. In our country, you're going to hear from it. But there's going to be obviously a big emphasis on the number one sport and the number one team in the city. We're also going to have a lot of Laval Rocket. As you know, Sick Media was announced last week as the official audio voice for Laval Rocket home games. So we're gonna have our voice of the Rocket, Cedric Blondin, and our color analyst Vincent Dumy join me on the program as well to give an update on the Rocket. We're gonna have players and members of the coaching staff from the Rocket that are gonna join us, and so we're gonna have it all. And it's going to start once again on Monday, October 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we've been told that the renovations will be finished by then. And the studio with all of the equipment, everything will be in there. And that's that. I'll do the French show from there, and I'll do the English show from here. And it'll all be on the same channel. In English, it's a Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. En français, ça va être le Sick Podcast avec Tony Marinaro. And, just subscribe to our channel. It's one channel, and you'll have both the French podcast and the English podcast. And once again, we offer you free content. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of expenses, but we want to thank our sponsors who are really helping us out and all of you out. So you know what? If you're going to go out, support our sponsors. Support Betway. Support Bittt Tibi, which is the Geloso Beverage Group. Support Energy Transportation Group. Support Playground. Support Accent Insurance Solutions. Support Souvlaki Authentique. And so many others. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same place. It's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. TB. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.